liberty and justice for all.
A couple more that were, or another one
Is
that
it
was
really?
paper clipped together.
Okay.
This is the Preble Town Board meeting of March 8th, 2021. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to February minutes?
Make a motion, we accept the minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Jane?
Dog report. 85 miles traveled for the town and 1 dog was adopted. Justice report, I didn't get any report.
Thanks, Jane. Highway report, Jeff?
Hello, everybody's got a written copy, a couple of the highlights. I've been working on a grant through the Bridge New York program for the Curry Road culvert. Just to be clear, it is a reimbursement program through the state. So if we happen to get the grant, we would have to pay for everything up front and submit the paperwork and get it back through the state. But with that, and it's new to me. We've never done a project quite like this before. It's a request for proposal from a engineering consultant firm to do the main grant writing and like that to give us a leg up on getting this done. My rough estimates from talking to people, you're looking at about $550,000 to $600,000 project. A lot of that's driven by the environmental importance of the Tioga, and you've got to go all the way down to them. They get into looking for mussels and species and all that. You've got to go through all these processes. It's not just a matter of ripping the culvert out of the ground, throwing a new one in. That's not to mention the actual sizing of it and, the 100-year flood and figuring out all the hydraulics of it. So anyways, I've been getting information from the state. I've talked to Jeff Smith, who's the highway superintendent for Tompkins County today, and Tompkins County's done very well getting these grants in the past. And so I talked to him for probably 20-25 minutes today. And last week I put out a request for proposal for the 15 state DOT approved engineering firms for our region 3 of DOT. I got back 9 positives saying they'd be interested in doing this job. And it's a qualifications basis. You're not looking for the low bid. It's against protocol to ask for numbers. You look at their qualifications. They each send in a 2-page sheet, selling themselves, if you will. And then you have a committee, and this is the first they're hearing of it, but Jim and Dave and I are the committee to go through these and score them. You score them with the information you get. If you have other questions for them, that's fine. You choose that engineering firm, and then once you've chosen them, then you sit down and negotiate pricing. This is how it's done New York State across the board, okay, is what I'm finding out. So 2 things to that end. We need, and this whole grant thing, it came up in the less than a month. And the first round of it has to be in by April 14th. So what I need is, and if not to put you on the spot, guys, but if not, somebody else can jump in. Or supposed to have 3 people on the committee, okay? But once they're scored and you pick that person, we need to basically hire on this consulting firm to sit down and negotiate a price. And if you can't come to an agreement on the price, you're not locked in, then you go to the next one down the list on the score, okay, from that score sheet. Hopefully that makes sense. So basically what I'm looking for is one of 2 things, and it's up to the board, whether you want to give the committee whatever that three-person makeup ends up being, I'm hoping the three of us, the authority to take this firm and take them to the next interview stage to negotiate the price, or if you want to have another board meeting to make that decision, which would probably be, I'm going to guess, Tuesday or Wednesday next week. This needs to happen pretty quick to try to get this grant to happen. So initially, this grant process, it didn't look like it was really going to fly good because the state budget's in such a crunch and everything. And then they're, boom, let's go. So, and the other catch to this is you put in this application the 14th, it goes into New York State DOT. They go through it, pencil it up, send it back to you, give you a chance to improve on it. But you've got to get it in by the 14th to get the attaboy points to help you in the end score, if you will, for the grant. The other pushing for this is it's a 2-year cycle. They will award X amount of grants this year and X amount next year based on this year's application. So we really need to work on this. So I guess what I'm asking right now is, what's your feeling on, the committee making up a decision to hire whatever firm scores the best? And if not, we need to schedule a meeting for sometime next week. And that's where I'm at with that. And I got a lot to go through here too.
I would like to make a motion to retain the existing 3 people on the committee to go ahead and hire an engineering firm.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. That'll make it go a little easier. So
Mhm.
like I say, this is something this town hasn't done anything quite like this since probably in the late 90s when they did the bridge over on Slab City, to be honest with you. So it's nothing we do every day. And talking to Don, he said they don't do a lot of it with other towns. So
And Jeff, do you, just for a feel, do you ballpark what the fee you would expect range would be?
well, and standard across, whether it's a bridge or a highway garage, right? A lot of them are 10, 12, 15% of the estimated overall cost. So you're looking at $550,000. You're looking at $55,000 for.
So with the initial to put
That would be the whole engineering,
okay.
right? The initial, I honestly don't. I would guess $6,000 or $8,000 ish, and that's the negotiation part. So, okay, thank you.
When do you want to meet then? What?
I'll know. I'm expecting
Oh.
a lot of paperwork in the next day or two
Oh,
from
okay.
Jeff Smith in Tompkins County.
Then you'll email us or
I will
get in
be
touch
in
with
touch
us. Yeah, yeah.
right up front. You're going to be around this week, evenings, and
Mhm.
whenever works for you guys. I'll make
Okay.
it work. I appreciate it.
Jeff, I have a question. When this culvert actually starts being built, however they tear things apart, then rebuild it or whatever, are your guys going to be involved with that? Doing the actual work?
Nothing within the actual perimeter. When it's done, we will then be, doing the paving and the shoulder work and everything to tie everything back together. But it's the biggest thing I've learned, and the county's learned from Lawrence Crossing. Okay, yeah, is there's a lot of unknowns for this whole project. Lawrence Crossing, they found mussels within 100 yards of the bridge, and now they've got to do a thousands of dollars study to get the mussels removed and rebedded someplace else so they can do this. Not that Lawrence Crossing Bridge is falling down or anything.
Are they native mussels or?
Honestly, I don't. I'm guessing some kind of freshwater mussel, but I don't know if you've heard any more than that, other than it's thrown a wrench in the works.
Shut everything down.
So, it's something they didn't see at the time. And the first thing, and I was talking to Rick, I'm going to butcher his name, but I think it's like Selzniak, from State DOT last week. And he says, "You don't have any mussels in that river, do you?" First thing he said, and I'm like, "Probably, our luck." There'll be a ton of them. So, but estimates, with what I understand, it'd be in the $6,000 or $8,000 range. But like I said, it is a reimbursement grant, so we, similar to what we did a little bit on the highway garage, we'd have to do take a bond, a 90 or 100 and some day bond to get it. But if we can get $100,000 or $550,000 out of it, if we spend $4,000 or $5,000 in bonding, it'd be money well spent if we can make it work.
Mhm.
As long as Albany doesn't collapse on us. So, that answer your question?
Mhm.
Couple-
So, well, okay, let me just follow up. With the engineering firm that you hire, we hire, would they have their own construction crew?
They would just, they would put together the specifications,
Mm-hmm,
do all the hydrology, make sure everything happens.
mm-hmm,
And then as a consultant, do the engineering. And let me back up. Originally, you're writing the application with their best numbers and everything to get, once approved, then you would do the full engineering layout and lay out the scope of work,
mm-hmm.
your, who's doing what all the way down through. Then that would go out to bid.
Okay,
They wouldn't do the work. It'd go out to, X bidders, and they have a list.
mm-hmm,
And then you would have to, because we'd be paying for this up front. But it would be with the letter from the state saying we will pay you back.
mm-hmm.
And we know how that goes.
Right.
Took, I don't know how many months, but we got it.
Right.
So that's,
Okay. And that answers my question.
but yeah, there'd be there are multiple steps to this. There's actually on the checkoff sheet, I'm like checkoff number 3 right now, and there's like 18. And then there's, final closeout, and then other paperwork even after the job's all done, it has to be sent back in to get the reimbursement. So it's going to be quite even from my perspective, hiring these people, there's going to be a lot of paperwork and keeping track of this stuff.
Mhm.
So, okay, but thank you. So anyways, the water issue up on East Hill, I did get some 48-inch sand tubes. Just have on hand. We got some weather coming up so that we can divert some water if need be. And I left a message with Seth up there that we had that. And I also talked to Keith Allen up there who owns that one piece. Non-invasive, just that it'd be okay to set them there just to, and I sent Don some forms from the county also and from another town out in Niagara County that I'm friends with a guy out there for a, I don't call it an easement, what did I call it earlier?
Let's call it.
It's a
could be
temporary easement
Drainage easement.
to work up there. And so it's the same one that I got him through Cortland County Highway. And I also talked to Dave Oregon from Cornell, and he said as soon as the snow melts down, he can get a good look at it and be happy to bounce over from it and take a look. Also in your packets, you have a copy of the 284U agreement. It's fine. You can look through it. It doesn't have to be necessarily done tonight, but I'd like to have them approved by construction season, which, end of April, first part of May. The other thing, Jim, I didn't see it in the your minute, your agenda. So we need to approve that for public employer emergency plan.
Mhm.
We got that on your agenda. And hopefully I got a chance to read it. And I sent it out last Thursday, Friday, I think it was. And the other thing too is we're approaching our 3 years on the loader. The last year, knock on wood, we've been out of warranty on it. To replace that right now, it's $24,000 for 3 years, which is actually pretty good. And what they're doing right now is they're trying to stretch them out. They were doing every year, and they went every 2 years. Now they're doing 3. And what they're doing with that 3 year, your normal warranty is 1 year. So they're throwing a 3-year warranty on at that price to get you to stretch out to the 3, because they were just getting too many machines back in. And you could see it, all you had to do was look at their lots and you could see them. But to do that right now, we'd have to do a permissive referendum out of our capital, Don, and with their approval. That's something you wish to do.
Well,
And one other,
why don't we go ahead with this right now? I'd like to make a motion for Jeff to replace the loader with a permissive referendum. And Don, for the benefit of everybody, can you just explain how this process would go ahead?
Right, so this is money, excuse me, we're pulling out of a capital account, correct? It's a reserve account. So you can authorize its expenditure, but it's just subject to permissive referendum, which really, bottom line is we published a notice in the Corona Standard that we have approved the withdrawal of up to X number of dollars. We need to put that in our resolution. And if someone opposed that, they got 30 days to file a petition to require us to put it to a vote. And we've seen that happen once in 30 years. And so once the 30 days expires, and if no one has filed that petition, then you're free to spend the money. You can't spend it until the 30 days is up. And it's 30 days not from tonight, but from publishing the notice in the paper. So you'd authorize it subject to complying with permissive referendum requirements. Excuse me.
So I would like to make that motion that Don just explained to give Jeff authority to spend $24,000 to replace the loader.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Right.
Carried. Okay, so to get this in the works, Don, you're gonna place this in the newspaper?
That's correct.
Okay,
And this is out of the equipment reserve fund. Okay, up to 24,000.
okay, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, and just lastly, I had a person stop into the shop today, Dick Martin, and he was saying that he is now moved out of town, and I just want to let the board know it. He's been a real, good neighbor to us, and that he's moved to Cortland now down on Madison Street. I don't have the exact address, but I just to let you know, Dick was a great guy and always around to, was a good friend and neighbor. So just want to pass that along.
Good, thanks, Jeff. Any questions for Jeff? Okay. Well, let's see, let's work on the other highway item here. Did everybody get a copy of this? Okay. Anybody have any questions with this, about this? This is a requirement by the state, right, Jeff?
Yeah, it's Labor Day of last year, Governor Cuomo signed. It's response directly from COVID, but you're supposed to think of any other, whatever may happen, who knows. But basically, and just to let you know where I came up with the base numbers was, 6 people, 2 pair of gloves a day, 2 masks a day. I mean, just simple math, put it in there. Everybody's doing it, the county's doing it,
Where'd you put them up?
what's that?
Your employees, where'd you? tell them
That is still TBD. That's the one thing that we're like, because if it's,
Take
you're
up
not
the
gonna take them to
hotel.
Tully if it's a COVID event again. They're going home as far as I'm concerned. I don't know how you'd ever do it. That's a part that nobody, and everybody I talked to, town of Binghamton, Wayne County, I got some other samples to pull this from, and everybody was struggling with that. It made no sense of what's Cortland County doing.
Even Scott.
Where are they gonna go? They're going home, or
Do you know what he's talking about?
Not really.
So in there, they talk about essential people
Mhm.
and stuff, so highway. So if they need to, quarantine and still do their work and stuff, where are you gonna put them? You can't send them home. So I think the template was to pay for a hotel room.
Where there's other people that are sick.
Other people are sick.
It made no sense to
Yeah.
everybody I talked to. And the only thing we talked about was getting, some cots and like that, and you stay at work, if, depending who's infected. Is it the person at home that's infected and you can't get it? Then you can work, or it's a crapshoot. Okay, it's throw something inside of the barn, it'll stick. But that's why it says TBD in there. And at the very end of that is a Pilford from the town of Binghamton's COVID, the last 2 pages policy. And that I know of, we've never actually had one for this event officially. And it basically spells out what you do if you test this way or that way. It's the same thing we all know by heart. My wife says it in her sleep. But it's the same thing, but that was supposed to be attached to it also.
Okay,
So this is supposed to be in by April 1st,
okay,
and then, filed by resolution, you accept it, and it can be a work in progress. It's, if you want to change something in 6 months or something else you see coming down the road, it can be changed, but
Okay.
at least it gets our
so this document is not carved in stone. This public,
boilerplate.
yeah, and it's general in nature, and so it's a requirement that we have to do. So I make a motion that the supervisor can sign this document and Jeff can send it in. Is it to Albany you send it to?
No, you just keep it on file.
Oh, keep it on file. Okay,
It's just another, like John said, it's an exercise of futility or something. I don't know what you said, but
I don't know, we're on the record, so I really don't remember.
yeah, it's,
okay,
No, but you're just adopting this as the emergency plan for the
right,
town problem.
right, okay. So I make a motion that the supervisor can sign this for Jeff.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
all right.
Carried. Okay. Jeff, anything else?
I think you've heard enough from me.
Okay. Any questions for Jeff?
You could, Jeff, you need this agreement for expenditure, right? We haven't adopted this yet.
No, and if we can just look at it, have any questions about it, that's, like I say, the big thing that
But
state
you'll need
says
a
January
resolution.
1st,
You'll need a resolution at some point, right, Jeff?
correct,
That's something we've done year after year.
year after year.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Recreation, we don't have anybody for recreation. And as we all know, Renee Compton has resigned from her position, so we will not be having a summer youth program this year. And I guess we don't have anybody actually taking over recreation yet. I haven't gotten any phone calls about the park yet, so I will let everybody know how this progresses as we go along. County Legislature, Kevin, you're up.
Really don't have a whole lot to say, other than I know it was in the newspaper and stuff about the $9,000. Some people called it a study, and it wasn't. So what's happening is because of COVID and the issues that the county had with emergency preparedness and everything, it was proposed by the clerk of the legislature and the county administrator for looking at the chambers and the other 2 rooms there. Audio is over 20 years old, the audio video. When we conducted meetings, through Zoom, so on and so forth, people couldn't hear. So it was just terrible audio. So they tried to fix it, didn't get fixed. So the county had 55,000 left over from last year in the legislative's professional services fund. So that was rolled over to go back. And there was a company out of Utica that would come in, look at the audio video, looking at how to separate, which we, about the separating, setting up the legislative chambers and stuff. Well, then what they ended up doing was, and I think it's because they like business, they also, the building and grounds chair asked them about the auditorium. So the auditorium is really not utilized at all. And stuff. So they said for that $9,000 that they would go in and review the auditorium as well, because we're hurting for space in that building. So there's no real architectural plans for that building. It's old and stuff. So that's what this group's coming in to do, is to take a look at it. So what it is, it's to then go after grants to get the renovations done. We have departments that are outside of the county office building that we're paying rent for. One is $100,000 a year that we pay. So with this project, and we're calling it capital project, is they are then, once we take a look at the open spaces that we have, the gymnasium is another one that's unutilized space. Then we can start bringing in other departments and then don't have to pay the rent for that. So it's not just for the auditorium, it's looking at multi-use functions. Planning, our municipal planning boards, zoning boards, we go to that place for the 4-hour training that the county offers, that the state comes up and gives everyone the 4-hour trainings. But that it's hotter than heck in there and stuff, but that's about the only real thing that's used there. So, I kind of got beat up for voting in favor of it. But it's pretty much, you have to maintain your spaces. You got to maintain your buildings. And it just never has been looked at. I mean, it's going downhill and we all have to do something. So the other thing that you don't have, county employee training rooms, that's where they go, for the county required trainings. Municipals use it. But when we're looking at hazards and emergency services, we do not have like a command center. We got 911, but we do not have a center for, say, a catastrophe that we have, say, airport, crash or something like that. So there needs to be something. So the auditorium would be used as a multi-use. Right now, they're doing construction for DSS for files because there's no room for the required files that they have. So we have records room that they're trying to construct. So we are hurting for space there. So to me, it's a good thing, and especially to bring in these departments to be able to save us some money on the rent.
Kevin, I've got a question for you. Paul Hyder was instrumental in getting an expensive study done for looking at the county's finances. And from what I understand, that's been a successful project of hiring a consultant, because they suggested various things that could be changed that could save a lot of money. Could you give us an update on that topic of what's going on with that and what these changes might be? And
Well, when that happened, COVID happened.
okay, so that's why we didn't hear too much about it.
That's why you haven't heard too much about it, but it is there. The administrator We went through, I believe they have a subcommittee to go through that report again. Now, I did give it to you, correct? I thought I gave everybody a copy of that report.
When would that have been?
I mean, I still have it. I
Yeah,
can still
okay.
give it. I can still give it to
All right,
you.
I'm just saying that, are there any more updates?
There hasn't been,
from
no,
that time?
there hasn't been any movement on it
Mhm,
solely because they've been dealing with other stuff.
mhm.
But we can bring it right back up
Okay,
and everything. Mhm.
but from what I heard was that it's been a positive kind of experience, right, with this
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
consultant?
within 2 years, saving $6 million,
Mhm.
to me is a hallelujah. That was a good thing.
Right.
And what it was like reorganizing some of the departments.
Mhm.
We have too much upper management. We always see that problem happen, when you have too much of there. There was other things of looking at one of the big ones was trying to figure out with the study was, what are our priorities? And we did see that so we have an auditor now, and they combed through the books and they found in this big budget of ours, right, with the administrator, that there were budget line items that were duplicated. They get all these nice little numbers all the way through, but they were really for the same thing. So then they were able to strike those out, and then to take what they had put in the budget to reduce it because they were duplicated. And that was one of the things that they, never looked at.
2 years ago, it just seemed like the finances of Portland County were dire. And now, from things I'm hearing in different circles, it's not quite as dire as it was set out to be a couple of years ago.
Well, I mean, to me, I thought it was dire, but having an administrator there, having a budget and finance officer there, having an audit officer now, we never had those 2 years ago. So they didn't know what happened. And then having the state come in to get the audits. I mean, we didn't have an annual report to the state since it was either 2015 or 2017. So that's what brought the state here, for that. So,
Okay.
I'll probably have more to talk about next month.
Okay.
Through our meetings that we have tomorrow.
Any other questions for Kevin? Okay, thanks, Kevin. Okay,
Zoning and code, one building permit issued, 74 miles traveled, 11 building inspections, 47 hours worked, 2 fire inspections, 3 complaint follow-ups, 27 telephone inquiries. Planning board meeting, March 24th. ZBA meeting, April 1st.
thanks, Jane. Historian is not here tonight. Okay,
We collected $3,298.22. Dispersed $3,284.22 to the town of Preble, and $14 to New York State labor markets.
unfinished business. Don, can you just give us a summary on the Diane Binderton situation?
Yes, as mentioned at the last meeting, there was a court appearance, it was virtual, but a court appearance on the Article 78. And the manner that type of thing is conducted, and it's not a trial. It's what's called a motion where there's oral argument. And each side has their opportunity to present their case to supplement the papers submitted. So that did occur. Mike Whitaker in our office handled that. I've been working with him on it. I thought he was well prepared for it. And, you know, if this lady represents herself, so it's not, you know, where she has a great understanding of, you know, how you present that legal argument, if you will. But, you know, the impression we got was the judge was focused on the legal issues. We felt that there was a technical issue that she didn't include the code enforcement officer as a party, and we felt that under the law, he was to be included as a party, and that it's possible that by not including him, it's a defect enough, so that might justify dismissal of her challenge. But the second piece, and the more substantive one, is whether in fact we are correct in requiring the applicant to have to submit stamped plans. That's, as you all recall, that's really the bugaboo. And so the judge focused on that with her argument, and we were, you know, certainly prepared for, and that's what's contained in our papers, addressing those issues. So we felt that there was nothing, you know, surprising or unexpected that came up. And as I had indicated to Jim, I mean, it would have been unusual and unexpected to have the court make a decision right then. It's usually on something like this, you get a written decision, and it could be 2 weeks, it could be 2 months. And you don't really know, and you don't know until you receive the judge's decision, and of course, we have not received it at this point. I'm not surprised, but it could be tomorrow, it could be a month from tomorrow. And you'll be the second to know.
Okay, thanks, Don.
Yeah.
Okay, new business. Well, this is sort of unfinished business. I had asked the board if they knew of anybody to fill in for the position of Board of Assessment Review, because we had an opening there, and Jim Harris got his son to step up to the plate. And Jim called me and told me that his son Tom was interested in that position. The position meets once a year in May, and they listen to the grievance of property owners about their taxes. So I want to make a motion that we appoint Tom Harris to the Board of Assessment and Review.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried? Okay.
Who
And so-
seconded that? Who made them? Oh, okay.
So Tom is going to have to get some training, right, Jane? Do you
Yeah,
handle
They have to contact the real property.
real property?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jim, you would have to contact real property in Cortland, and they would put him through a training class. I don't know the details of that training class, but
Or I can call down there.
Could you? Yeah, they have to send a form or something, don't they?
I
Or
really
you have to
don't-
send in
I
a
don't
form?
know, but I can find
Oh,
out.
I think you do.
Jane can find out the details. Get
Yeah,
back to you.
sure. Yeah, we'll communicate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. One other item that has come up that is not on the agenda is final budget amendment for 2020. This is an end of the year adjustment that Gina makes, and so everybody has a copy of it. So I just want to make a motion to accept this budget amendment that Gina has suggested. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Who moved?
Dave. Oh, I moved. Dave
Oh, okay.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried? Okay. Jane, you'll talk to Gina? Jane?
Yeah.
You'll talk to Gina that we approve this? Okay. Okay, monies received. We received from Northeast Transformers, $1,771.89. Highway sales tax, 100,000 even. Sales tax for general, $22,151.13. Now, we'd like to open up the meeting for public comment. If anybody has a comment or a question that they'd like to ask, the meeting is open. If there's no comments or questions, then we can move on. We need a motion to pay the general fund vouchers.
Make a motion to pay general fund vouchers abstracts number 3, numbers 36 to 56, totaling $24,291.37.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Need a motion to pay the highway fund vouchers.
I make a motion to pay the highway fund vouchers abstract number 3, numbers 20 to 26, totaling $8,270.20.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Carried. Need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Adjourned.